Hey everyone! I am here at my mother's house and of course looking at some new toys, some old stuff that I have, and since some other people have been booted out of the house, I've decided that I might look at a device or two and see if I can use it. This is a phone which was easily reset, and I walked back through the system settings, and of course I like it because it hooks up by Bluetooth to my other device, the speaker, and that's what I was just listening to a moment ago. I have a spare card with 230 something native type videos and other subjects similar to what you just heard, and that's what I listen to a lot. If you want to know a secret of how somebody learns something nowadays and does something, then pay attention to those people on the internet that teach you how to do things. You have to be repetitious. You have to read again and again and again. Speak the words that you hear. Learn the alphabet. Learn how to write whatever it is you're studying. And then do it. You speak the language that whatever you're studying. Or read subject matter to yourself. So I'm going to take these out of my ears. I don't think those earbuds really... I trust that the phone is picking up what I'm saying, but... So you have to...
I am able to learn and retain important information. I am an organized, intelligent person. I enjoy learning new things every day. I recall information quickly. I store new
learning
facts efficiently.
applications,
I have a clear mind.
increased learning ability, affirmations.
My mind is super powerful. I have a fantastic memory. I am enthusiastic about learning. I can easily recall facts and figures that you have.
They're on the internet. You just have to find a whole bunch of them and then save them. You have to listen to and memorize and have the schizophrenic versions of, of those videos. That's what you have to listen to. It's best to hydrate yourself whenever you're listening to the schizophrenic version of, or the multiple voice version of any of those affirmation videos. After a while, your brain's going to get tired. You're going to have headaches. And of course, I think somebody's texting me. And of course, you don't always have to listen to the multiple personality versions of those positive affirmations. You can listen to
Junior's Nagable.
You can learn the various languages. I've saved a lot of Russian and Swedish and German and other language videos off of YouTube. And then it doesn't have to be music, it doesn't have to be lessons. It can be TV, because I've found a few TV series on YouTube. So, but anyway, do something on your own. Have fun with it. Like I'm having fun with this new device here that I put my sound card in and start working to listen to it. Lakota language.
In our syllabi, we have the creation story, okay? And remember I mentioned that during my course of teaching, some of you that's been, let's see, I think Lakota, I think you were in one of my classes at SF, I think, maybe not. But anyway, what do you call it, Founders Day. During their Founders Day powwow over here, they had a whole bunch of these. This is the aerial photo of the Black Hills. And when I seen it, I thought of what my grandmother was talking about. So when it's in this position, what do we see? A heart, right? Yeah. And she said
I picked this one video because I still remember it. I know that it was somewhere in this little category. Aha, that one. That's Mr. Wesley Lame Deer, I think, is his name. So, and my auntie, my auntie Miss Black Bear, she does a whole bunch of videos on YouTube as well, language classes. Anyway, I'm gonna. Gee, there's like 300. I miscounted. And I got my contact lenses in, so I need to redo 13 gigabytes of 15 gigabytes. Anyway. When you find something or leave it or keep it, you should always at least use your devices all the time. Use it every day. Do something with it. We need to get past the horror stories of government snooping. There's billions of us and a few hundred or a few thousand of them at any given time. And they're only concerned about the outspoken ones anyway. So I'm charging up my other. In fact, there was another phone that was left, and I'm using my little Blue Fuel mobile device. And my mom bought this up for me up in Alaska at about $50, maybe $75 at the Napa store. And I put it into a little zippered case and babied it and coddled it. This thing slept with me close to my heart or my head sometimes in the winter. It's at 61%. This other phone is anyway. But a couple of the other devices that my mom purchased for one of my other siblings or so, the one that's booted out of our house, they didn't take care of those. Yeah, it's charging good. And in fact, that broken one is here. I don't have my I don't have my soldering irons and my copper and my flux cord and everything else that I need. I mean the flux liquid or the flux resin to do anything to fix these devices. They were all of my little electronics tools that I had with my little tattoo supplies and my tattoo frames that were given to me by a Facebook friend. All of those electronic stuff that I bought at Radio Shack to build a little tattoo machine, wrapping the wire and soldering the bits and pieces here and soldering a capacitor on and whatever. And the soldering iron and just, everything that went with that. That stuff was stolen by my cousin. So anyway, so this is 12 minutes an hour or so, and it's really nothing. I don't have anything to say right now. I will be posting up some more things like I have already spoken here and there or did something on YouTube already. But I always say connect. I always say find yourself. I always say wake up. You got to do it on your own. When you do something like that on your own, whether it's great or small, what comes to you is what they call revelation. You'll receive guidance from your own higher power. And if you wish to walk a path like many of us, people that are awake already, then you will, it won't bother you at all. But very few people actually do things like this on their own anyway. They always want the answers. Oh, I want somebody to write books and I'll read them and I'll buy them. But I don't need to go out and meditate, and I don't need to... whatever. But truth of the matter is you do. Eventually you have to do things on your own. When I was a teenager on this reservation, just before I left, when I was at the age of 17 or 18, it was during one of these summer months. I was with my mother and my brother and sister and a couple of other people at one of the swimming holes, at one of the swimming lakes at some little body of water somewhere here on a reservation, I forget where. And my uncle was with me, one of my older relatives at the time. And I followed him swimming. He swam out to the middle of one of those little lakes or ponds, climbed up 100 feet or 50 feet up to the top. It looked like a mini Devil's Towers is what it looked like in the middle of that small lake. And my uncle went running really fast at the top, and he jumped off the side and, he splashed in the water down below. And I swam over to where he was on that little island, but I was really tired. I didn't want to climb up to the top. But I at least made it that far. I was encouraged by him, and I was also encouraged by something inside of me at that time. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want anyone to rescue me. But I was really tired on the swim, 100 yards or a couple of 100 meters or so, over across the lake water to that little Devil's Tower looking structure or piece of dirt or earth that was sticking up from the rest of the land. So my uncle, he climbed that little tower, jumped off, yay, ha ha. Then he swam back, he passed by me, he climbed up the trail, he went back up, ran really hard, and jumped off of that structure. He was having fun, and I was sitting on the shore down below, really tired. But looking across that lake or to my family, I was, However, it happened long ago when I was a teenager. I had to swim back all by myself because then my uncle, "Oi, let's go back to the shore, Sammy." Splash, splash, splash. So he paddles away. Okay. Well, I'll follow him. I can do that. I'm rested up just a bit. And I started to American crawl. I started to doggy paddle. I was side stroking. But I started getting tired, and I started to become discouraged, and I was giving up hope. Some part of me was starting to panic. I was swimming. I was calling out for my uncle, and he was shouting back to me, "Keep going, come on." But he didn't come out and help me. He didn't swim over and grab me or nothing. He didn't do anything. He just kept on swimming, and then he made it to the shore, and I was in the middle of that 200-meter swim or something, and I didn't know how deep the bottom was in that small lake, but I had to do it myself. And for me, of course, like anyone, they learn somewhere here and there in their life, various life lessons, that you have to rely on yourself. You have to do things on your own, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, often emotionally or financially or so on. And I learned from that day that, well, I made it and I can do it myself, and but I'm really tired. And hello, this mom's living room smells like cat piss. And how come Shota's? Yes, I see. And how come Shota, he's pooping in that little box over there with all those little tamales that Mom left behind that I have to throw out? Huh? This little Joey here, and I love cats. If I didn't love cats, the first time last month that Shota pissed all over the floor, I would have thrown him out, or maybe I would have killed him. But I love pets, and I will put up with these little critters. And yep, you're just a bad boy, aren't you? You get hugs and spanking, and and smooches. Anyway, this little Joey here. Shh, you get off the table. It's bad enough that you cats already walked on 3 of my drawings. Shh, get down. So I learned on my own, and I remember that little valuable life's lesson when I was 17 or 16 or so. I thought I would die because it was hard to swim. I was getting tired. My panic and everything. But something deep inside said, You'll be fine. Keep going. You'll live. What the fuck does that mean? Okay. You'll live. So I kept on screaming for my uncle, and he was, come on, you can make it, Sammy. Come on, keep going. He doesn't know it, but sometimes when I need help or something spiritual comes along, and I sometimes hear his voice, and he's still there screaming at me or encouraging me from the other side. Even, well, of course, that one uncle is now deceased, and we loved him. Uncle Leland. I liked him. But sometimes even other people in my life that encouraged me somehow, that helped me, and I got flea collars on those cats, and I still scratch sometimes. Because I let you outside. So, that's just one life's lesson that I learned about swimming and surviving and making a couple of 100-yard swim or so all by myself, and I was fine. After that, I was able to swim much farther and faster, and I was in better shape, and eventually I learned some scuba diving and learned some other stuff and did other stuff related to all of that for a 3 or 4 year brief period. And I learned other things, private security, private contractor work. Utilizing any scuba or any parachuting or shooting or hand-to-hand combat or what have you. I may not have gone the direct route in life with most things that other people have, but honestly, everything I've done, I've learned exactly what I wanted to learn. I'm happy with what I became. And I am proud of any work that I did. And if I have anything to say to the young kids these days, or to any colleagues of mine still in service, keep learning, keep doing what you're doing. I wouldn't go the way of working as a contractor or a mercenary or so. No, I wouldn't do that. There's other things in store. And right now in our time in history, things are getting much, much worse for such people. And there's civil unrest happening, and that will spring up in our country later on. So you don't need to be far from home in other countries, or if you are here on the home front, you don't need to be on the bad side. You don't need to be in employment of rich people or in the armies of ungodly people, or being associated with murderers and the rich elites, or any pedophiles or other kidnappers and human traffickers. You don't need to be in employment of those people. So do your soldier stuff, sailor, marine stuff, whatever, and then get out. Do something else. That's all I have to say. Hi, Shota. You see me talking to myself again? That's because I listen to all my music and videos and stuff in my head when I'm the other 24 hours of the day. So, and that's when I'm not complaining and talking to you or Joey. Anyway, Well, I'm gonna think about loading this up later on. You see little Joseph and Shota, they're staring at me. So this is a nice little box here. I put some art supplies in it. And got a brand new little pair of headphones and stuff. And I got another old phone that matches this one that I'm recording. You know, so when people kind of attack my mom and kind of sort of let other people know that they are not themselves and that they are on drugs or otherwise have bad intentions and that they are no longer nice people to be trusted, then we fucking boot them out. And too bad if they left their shit. Because it's either going to be picked through and scavenged, used by somebody else that will use it, and the rest thrown out or sold or given away to people that need it. Need clothes and makeup and stuff. So, all right, I'll post this up somehow. And I just want to say to some of my military buddies, I still got mine. I got my other one too. I have two of these berets. I have one full complete digital camo uniform from 2009, 10, and 11 era. So I still have a couple of desert combat boots, socks, undies. I pretty much gave everything else away when I left the army. All my ribbons and a few of my dress uniforms and just all the stuff that I didn't need. So I gave it away. You can't take it with you when you go. You only take with you what you became, and you only take with you the good person that you even became even more of. And as you get in touch with your higher self, or if you do work along that line of self-discovery and becoming you and finding you and then creating you and then helping your family and so on and so forth, then yes, more of those things that you became and that you already were, they're always with you anyway. So, and I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump. His legs were kicking against the mounts on the baseboards that had just suddenly given way beneath his feet moments before the handle was thrown. His legs were still kicking, and his heels a sickly beat upon the scaffolding. All the crowd's people around. Look at him! Look at him go! Look at Frosty! Oh, he's still kicking. Look at him go! Do you see that? Hours before his hanging, his execution, hours before his electric chair execution, hours before his strangulation, and he kicked against the restraints in his chairs or the scaffold he was standing on. However, he met his end at the hands of the townfolk. Hours before, days before, weeks, months, for years, he had gone through the town, dancing here and there, peddling here and there, giving out samples here and there, scoffing the law and the parents and other authority. Running here and there around the square, mothers would chase him. Grandparents would chase him with canes. The kids, the older ones, would also sometimes chase him. And he would say, "Catch me if you can." And he ran away and back to his home or wherever he stayed. Would come back some other day with his perverseness. Come back some other day with his immorality. Come back some other day with his drugs and drug use and free samples. He would come back some other day. And in fact, over the years, some kids disappeared. Some people would disappear. Last seen in the vicinity or company of Frosty. But these are stories from old, the gist of which has been written down and told. Hey, I'm still itching. You darn cat. Shota, quit staring at me. But we all know we just have to hear or read certain parts of these stories. And whatever culture or creed or tongue you are in, or you remember that version of things that were told. But nowadays, when people hear about this corncob pipe and a stovepipe hat and two eyes made out of coal, you have to look at the lyrics. You have to look at things behind the scenes. You have to look at things behind the person. You have to look at things behind the history. You have to look at things behind the scenes and read into the story. And if you are a connected person, of course, down to the village with a broomstick in his hand, down to the village with drugs and vice in his hand, down to the village while he was drunk or high and flashing everyone and being lewd with his dick in his hand. Back then, people didn't really put up with such things. And eventually, you either run the offenders out or you capital punishment them. So look at your stories again. There's another story. This little boy, he had the family cow. He would milk it. Take the milk down to the markets or to the city square long ago. He would sell milk from his family's cow. That was the only thing in their lives that they had of value. Fucking keep the cow alive. Keep it safe. And the little boy that you would call Jack, he met a salesman along the way. And that salesman wanted that cow. Well, the salesman had some magic beans, magic seeds, magic little gummy bears, magic something. Here's a few pieces, eat one. But eat it when you're at home by yourself. You don't need to be around people when you try this. It's not going to hurt you, but here, try it. Now, if you want more of these, I'll have to trade you. You got nothing of value. But that cow looks nice. So little Jack, being the nice kid that he was, and always being the hopeful person, and always hoping for something better, and when an opportunity came, even when it sounded magical and mystical, he took it. So he went home with a little handful of something, kernels, seeds, M&Ms, pills, beans, something, heirloom seeds, in a little pouch. And he ran home to Papa. And Papa looked at him. Where's Bossy? You took her into town. Well, I met somebody. He said I could have some magic beans, magic seeds. And I traded Flossie the cow for them. Yeah. Well, you know the story there of but you gotta look behind the scenes. Well, of course, his parents, Mr. Jack's parents, were upset with him. I mean, his other extended relatives as well, even a sibling or two. Mm-hmm. He was grounded, he was beaten, he was scolded, he was reprimanded for his stupidity because he basically bankrupted the family. They were living in a shack. They didn't have any more income now because their precious cow was now gone to who knows where. And the family didn't even want to look at those beans that Mr. Jack had. They locked him away in his room or up in the attic or somewhere for a few hours. He was sad and depressed, and then he remembered, here's a couple of them you can eat, but I want you to eat them when you're at home alone. Try them. So he sorted out, and there's a couple of these gummy bears or these fruits or these vitamins. He had nothing else to do, so he fucking sat there in his lonely, dark little temporary prison, locked room that he was in, and he ate them. And he started to get high. He started to get dizzy. His vision changed, his perceptions changed, the world around him changed. His body started to rise up. He was hanging onto the furniture and clawing at the floor and then clawing at the wall, and then he was standing on the roof, the ceiling top. Then he was standing on the side of the wall, and it was just as normal as if he was standing on the floor. And then he would float away, and he was tried to reach for a little portion of a ceiling that was like a chandelier, or tried to reach for one of his bedposts or something. He just floated away. But then he discovered, I want to be over here, get close to the wall. And he moved over there, and he righted himself and stood up and looked up, and he was staring at the floor. So he started walking around. Hey, calm down in there. Pipe down. You're being punished. They heard him walking around or something. So his family was screaming at him. So Mr. Jack sat in the corner for a while, and then pretty soon he started scooting along the floor or the wall, scooting towards the floor. And so, okay, this effect is wearing off, and wow, you know the rest of the story. The village, the town or the area was being ravaged from time to time by big giants, by people that stood taller than everybody else, or by fucking giants that actually stood 100 feet, 200 feet tall. Anyway, by monsters. These other monsters would kidnap or take away or throw in a gunny sack and otherwise steal away various people. And when Mr. Jack was in his room, he heard his parents outside, some commotion going on. So he put his ear as close as he could to the window, and he listened real hard. And his neighbors were telling his parents, "Oh, that little Olsen boy, huh? And Mary, and Mrs. Jacobs," or whoever. Mary? The little girl. She was one of Jack's friends. She wasn't his girlfriend, she wasn't his little love at the time, but she was the best friend to him in school. And little Billy and Tommy or whoever, whatever his friends were named at that time, a few 100,000 years ago, million years ago, whose legend still lives today in some little story that you all know about, the beanstalk. And little Jack, and how he planted the seeds in a big tree or big vine or otherwise some access way to the heavens or to the stars or to the giant's house up in the sky, came to be from those little magic beans. So, but Mr. Jack, he had to get out of his he had to get out of that little prison. He had to get out of that room and immediately do something, because his best friend, his little bestie, his girl, his woman, had been taken away a few hours before by one of the giants, by one of the aliens, by one of the creatures, and a couple of his best friends as well, and one of their mothers. A couple of other people, an uncle and a grandpa, had been killed but left behind, but no, he had to do something. And he looked at his little beans. His attention was drawn to one more. So he ate that one. He didn't float, but he sure felt dizzy. Everything around him started to change again, back to the weird shimmer, shadowy. And he touched the wall. And he kept reaching for the wall, and he wasn't touching it. He was going through it. And since he was in his house, he knew how to get through. He knew where he was, even though at the time he was transitioned and changed. But he knew. He knew where things were, because he tried to reach to the wall and kept going. So he stepped through. Stepped backward, he stepped sideways. However, he stepped through. He got out of his room. He got out of his house. He hid from a few people as he saw them. And he went to where he was guided or told to go. because that slick salesman that traded those magic beans, that gave Jack those heirloom seeds or those gummy bears or a few items of food for a milk cow. That man also told him some other things. You take one of these and you plant it, you put some water in it, and wait for a few hours, maybe wait overnight. You'll see. Well, maybe the story also had another twist to it. Oh, fucking eat this one and eat this one. And see what goes on. See what happens. Well, Mr. Jack, as you know, according to the children's story, a conduit was opened, a pillar of light. He ascended, he arose somehow. He flew. Or a fucking tree or a big vine sprang up out of the ground instantly or in a matter of a few hours or overnight, however you remember the story. And he climbed up, he rose up, followed the pathway wherever it led. And he went into the house of the giants. You know the story. I've just had these little stories told to me and retold to me most of my life here and there since I was little.